Hi guys, welcome back to Manic Monday. This is episode 11. I'm gonna try to stay on the main storyline here. We're gonna talk about my romantic relationships again. I did say that I was ending the friendship storyline. However, I thought back and I missed two important friendships. Um, One of these friendships were at the first school that I attended before I moved, and the second friendship was one of the friendships I began after I moved. So I'm going to episode 12. I'm going to figure out how to mesh them together so that you guys can be filled in or whatever. When I was discussing my romantic relationships, I ended somewhere around me graduating, right? So the soldier guy takes off and ghosts me, doesn't show up to my graduation. And then, this is around the time when Instagram started popping. So I'm posting pictures on Instagram and he's reacting to them, but he's not answering any of my messages. We're at the end of May because I graduated May 31st, 2014. And then, like I said, we went to that party, me and the guy that took my virginity. He had my brother's car while my brother was at work. I was looking for something for us to do because I didn't want to sit in the house with him because it was just awkward. So we decided to go to the party that was in town. So this was a prom party that this girl was hosting. I saw it on Facebook and I was like, let's go. Now, when we get there, we have to separate because we're not dating. And I didn't want to feel like I was being babysitted. So it was just like he found his crowd and I started walking around and talking to people. I ran into one of my cousins there. So me and her were kind of like chopping it up. And guess who I see? My first love. And what is my first love doing at this party? I speak to him and I don't know if he was like high or like drunk, but maybe it's because he was in front of a bunch of people. But he just started saying like embarrassing things like, let's get in the car so you can blow me and like things like that. And then during the entire party, he was hopping in cars getting whatever done to him by other girls. So I'm like, okay, I don't have any interest in hanging out with him during this party. I was looking for like familiarity. So like I was trying to click up with people that I knew already so I could feel more comfortable at this party. So he was out of the question because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck he's on. And it's not my business. Like I said, throughout high school, we kind of we were still on and off here and there. But during this time, I was starting to be really like turned off by him and what he like grew into. You know what I'm saying? So me and my cousin, we're still chopping it up, and slowly this guy comes from out of the dark. Like literally, I don't know how to explain it. Like me and her were talking. There's like a fence here, and it's like this darkness here, but it's split up by the lights that are at the party. But there's patches of darkness, and out of one of these patches of darkness, he emerges and immediately speaks like directly to me. Like he was so intense. Like I just remember him walking up, making like deep eye contact like this. He was like, hey, what's your name? And he was like really close to me, like I was already dating him. It was really sweet. I mean, I liked it, you know what I'm saying? I thought it made me feel good. So my cousin, she knew him, so they were kind of like talking, in the middle of that I was like interjecting and saying things and asking questions so I could get to know who this was. And as we're talking, more and more guys like start to swarm around us. So it's me and her, and now there's like 3 guys. Now it's like 4 guys. And out of these guys, like a couple of them are like throwing shots at me, like trying to hit on me at the same time. Like it was so weird. It was like bees to honey, right? So like the more guys that come up, the closer he gets, and like the more protective he starts to act about me. And I'm like, whoa, like this is really attractive. But other girls will probably find it like creepy. Like, get off me, you. I don't know you. So I also want to mention that this night when we were going to this party, I invited a guy that I was actually talking to. I met him on, I want to say Facebook, and he had messaged me, and we had been talking for a couple of days, and I wanted him to come to the party so we could meet each other in person and actually, like, you know, hang out. So he was running late. Like, I thought he wasn't coming. So I'm interested in this guy now. And I'm like, well, I hope he doesn't come because I really like this guy. So finally I get a message in the middle of us like mingling and talking. And the guy's like, I think I'm here. I'm pulling up. So I walk around to the front of the party. You know, I was just beginning to smoke cigarettes. So I try to like light a cigarette to look cool. And then like all the guys that were surrounding us, like now they're like, oh, can I have one? Can I have one? So me, being the hustler that I am, 50 cents. 50 cents, you got $1, I'll give you two. 50 cents, 50 cents, then got the money, get out my face. You're not getting my cigarettes. So I believe that made this guy like more interested in me because he's like, wow, she's a hustler. So that was like a moment where we kind of connected oddly. So the guy pulls up and he walks up to the porch. He sees me surrounded by all of these guys now and my cousin. And he kind of like stood there for a minute. He kind of talked to me, I want to say for like 5 minutes tops. But this guy next to me was so possessive and protective that I think it turned him off. He got in his car and he left. So I was like, well, there goes our connection. Like, that's kind of what I wanted anyway, because I connected more with the guy standing next to me than I did with him in the last 2-3 days. So to me, it just felt like it wasn't meant to work out, and let him go. So all of the other guys are witnessing me and this guy flirting that's like standing next to me and being possessive, and they like one by one just start to die off. And a couple of them were his friends, I believe, because he said something to them and they were just kind of like, all right, you know, all right, I see you, and like walked away. Or they started hitting on my cousin. So me and him are starting to spend more time together. I don't even remember the rest of the party. Like, I think they freestyled, like if there was a group that freestyled, but me and him were basically glued at the hip. And I don't remember any of the rest of the party because we sat there and talked the whole time. And eventually my cousin was like, I'm gonna just give y'all alone time. And she walked off. So literally, like, I guess you could say it was like our first date, because we spent the entire night together. It got to the point where like the guy that took my virginity, he kind of like rotated back towards me toward the end of the party when he was ready to go. And he was kind of like, now he's acting kind of possessive. Like, who is this? Where did he come from? And I'm like, you know, this guy, just met him and I was talking to my cousin, blah, blah, blah. His name is blah, blah, blah. And I think I really like him. And we started, you know, cracking jokes, me and the other guy. And the guy that took my virginity was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, you know, we should go. So I'm like, all right, cool. And, you know, I'm about to say bye to the guy. And he's like, actually, it's funny that you're about to leave because we need a ride home. Like, how close do you live? Do you have like gas money? So him and his cousin gave us a couple bucks, and they actually turned out he didn't live too far from the party. It was like a couple blocks, and it was literally like on our way home. He was like right there to where we needed to go. So I was just like, come on, we should do it. We should drop him off or whatever. So we did. And from there, we went to pick up my brother. So the entire time that we're dropping him off, we're still in the car going back and forth. We're flirting, asking questions. He asked me for my number, but back in the day, I never gave my number out. I would give out my Facebook or my Instagram handle. And then if I liked you and I got to know you on Facebook or Instagram, then I would give you my phone number. But I was very much not giving my phone number out back in the day. So I added him on Facebook, and that's where the conversation continued non-stop for days. After he gets out of the car, we're on our way to get my brother, guy that took my virginity, right? You barely know him. I thought you said you weren't going to date any more guys from this town. Are you sure this is a good idea? You know what I'm saying? Like, trying to defer me from dating this guy because I guess he knew more about him than I did, but I didn't know this at the time. I thought he was new to him too. So I'm just like, you know, he's sweet. He's harmless. He's respectful. And he's really nice. I didn't say anything about dating him, but I like his company and I like his conversation. So, I mean, if it goes somewhere, go somewhere. But that's not what I'm looking for. Especially because I was on my way to college. I had registered to go to Roosevelt in Chicago, so I knew that I wasn't going to be in town much longer. So I wasn't interested in starting anything new. So I was kind of more like just looking for someone to keep me company until it's time to go. We talked on Facebook nonstop, like morning, evening, night for like 3 or 4 days straight. Um, and once we were starting to get into like deeper things, I was kind of like pumping the brakes. Like, I'm going to leave for college, so I don't want to look for anything serious and XYZ. And he's like, oh, that makes me so sad because I really, I was interested in making you my girl. I was like, oh, shit. So, I mean, it's also worth to mention, like, during the summertime, I was moving into my grandfather's house in town to give my mother more room for my siblings and things like that. And, I was about to leave anyway. So I was just going to stay with my grandfather for the summer and then leave from his house to college. So in the middle of us talking, I'm moving to my grandfather's house. The party was the day after graduation, so I think it was like June 1st. So this is like June 3rd or 4th. I've officially moved in with my grandfather, and me and this guy are still talking on Facebook. Now, my sibling, my brother, my oldest brother, and the guy that's in my virginity, they're still telling me, like, be careful, don't fall in love, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. He calls me one night. I finally gave him my number. He calls me one night and we're on the phone for hours. I haven't had anything like that since my first love. So now I'm really like, fuck, this guy is winning. The end of the phone conversation, this was June 5th that we had this significant phone conversation. At the end of it, he plays out, straight up asked me, like, do you want to be my girlfriend? And I'm like, well, I said I'm leaving for college. How is that going to work? I don't believe in long distance. People aren't faithful. And he's just like, if it comes down to that, we'll make it work. I really like you and I hate to lose you. And I was like, I can't give you an answer yet. I got to think on this because there's so much I've been through. I've made rush decisions before. They didn't work out for me. So just let me sleep on it. Literally. The next morning, I could barely sleep that night, and then I had dreams about us. So at this point, I'm completely enthralled. You know what I'm saying? And again, I believe this is a part of the BPD where we fall in love very quickly. What red flags? So basically, I call him like as soon as I wake up. Like, I didn't even brush my teeth, take a shower, anything. Like, I stayed up that night until like 2 a.m, barely slept, tossed and turned, dreamed about us, woke up the next day like imagining myself moving to college and never speaking to him again. And I just couldn't. My mind and my heart was like, no, you can't leave him. So I called him and I was like, yeah, I asked for him. His mom answered the phone, and when he got the phone, I was just like, yes, I will be your girlfriend. Later that day, we link up. Turns out he knew one of my other cousins. So like there was lots of links between us. So him and my cousin, organized for us to meet up, hang out and chill. And I remember my cousin even like giving me a ride from work a couple of times, and he's like, this guy can't stop talking about you. Like what are y'all doing? So this day, first day I'm his girlfriend, we were on foot. So he crosses the street as soon as he sees me and plants a huge kiss and eyes wide open. That was so funny to me, but the kiss was everything. Like, it was fireworks. It was like, wow. I can't tell him yet, but I think I'm in love. Is that weird? So we hang out all day to the point where my grandpa's asking for me. He was concerned. He's like, where are you? It's getting late. And I'm just telling this new guy, like, hey, I gotta go home. And we were like all wrapped up on each other. All like I met his mom as well the first day, and we're all on his mom's couch, like all over each other. It was, young teen love. So I go home and we're constantly talking, and we declared June 6th to be our official, date where we began dating. We began taking a lot of pictures together, getting a lot of attention because now I'm posting it on Facebook. My brother's like, what the fuck? I thought you were going to date anybody else. The guy that took my virginity is pissed. He's not talking to me anymore. So it was just like, everybody was like, I thought you said. And I'm like, yeah, but I like him. He's cool. He's cool as fuck. This, unfortunately, right at the beginning is where a lot of our issues started. Our past reared its head first. So we're like 2 or 3 weeks in dating. You know what I'm saying? He's having issues at home with his family. He's getting into it with them. Every other day he's trying to leave. There's that. And then the soldier guy finally decides to start answering my messages, and he leaves me a paragraph threatening to expose all of the news that I've sent him when we were talking, when I was a minor, mind you. And he threatens to kill my boyfriend, hurt my boyfriend, because I guess they had some separate beef outside of me and him dating, something with the streets. I don't know. I didn't run the streets, so I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, and then I guess the soldier guy talked about the new guy that I was with a lot when we were messing around with each other, but I wasn't paying attention to that shit. I was like 17, just living in the moment. And most of the time when I was at his house, if we weren't doing stuff together, humping, I was cooking for him. I was, doing stuff with the roommate's girlfriend. Like, we were talking and doing our own thing. I wasn't paying attention to his conversation. I'm in my own world. So how can you get mad at me for moving on with someone and you weren't even messaging me a week ago? Just completely disappeared, never said anything else to me. So how are you mad? And then now you're going to expose me? Wow, you're a big man. So I told my boyfriend about it, and he's like, you dated this goofy? And then he's getting angry because, I'm upset. And I mean, no one is happy about getting death threats. So he was pissed about that. And it was just a lot. Okay, so this new guy, he runs the streets. I never ran the streets, so I don't know anything about it. Me being with him, this is all new to me. All of this that I'm going to experience with him is new to me. Going to trap houses and hanging out with people on the sidewalk all day, stuff like that, I experienced in this relationship with him. So that happened like the second week we were dating. By a month in, it's like July 4th at this time. We're about to go to my uncle's house out of town, which is what we do like every other year to celebrate. And he's getting paranoid that I'm going to go out there and do stuff. And according to him, he tries to cheat with one of his ex-girlfriends. He thought I was going out of town just to, I don't know, like hook up with random people, I guess. So he was like super paranoid, and he tried to cheat on me. He was in this girl's yard, apparently, according to her, these are allegations she made on Facebook. He was just in her front yard begging to eat her cat. How could he have a girlfriend already? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, had a lot of issues with exes in this relationship, especially at the beginning. I didn't know how to be a girlfriend either. Like, I knew how to be a girlfriend, but not all the way. So, like, I was still communicating with guys that were interested in me. And, it rubbed them the wrong way. I didn't get it at the time. So we definitely had a toxic beginning. It was a lot of love from both sides, but there was also a lot of arguing because of miscommunication, misunderstandings, and just disloyal shit happening. Like, he was messaging girls in his phone. I threw the phone at him one day, broke down crying. He went through my phone, found out I was texting guys, another argument, more crying, you know what I'm saying? But we stayed together because the fear of leaving each other was greater than any wrong we could have done to each other. So as far as I know, there was no infidelity in the beginning. But he did admit to me later that he was like cheating on me during the relationship. So that hurt. At the beginning, when I was staying with my grandfather, we saw each other a lot because my grandfather was close to his house. So he was at my grandfather's house a lot. There were a couple times I had to sneak him out. One specific day out the window. Eventually, college day came, like move-in day, and our relationship was kind of on the rocks. I felt like he was going to break up with me because I was going away to college and because we had so many issues starting out. So I thought that the relationship was about to end. But I ended up not even going to moving day. Why? Well, my mother was supposed to be my ride, and I had filled out all of the paperwork by myself, like the roommate paperwork, the FAFSA paperwork. I did everything by myself. The only thing I needed her to do was take me to Chicago. Me and my mom had talked about this like a month in advance. Like, we already had the plans down packed. All she was supposed to do was get me to Chicago on this day. I don't know why she didn't like take off work or like let her boss know what was going on so that I could get to school. But she basically told me, I'm at work. You should have found another way there. Fuck off. So a lot of my family members will say that my boyfriend was the reason that I didn't go to college. Please do me a favor and don't believe them, because that is not why I didn't go. I did not go because no one would take me. So I made a decision to make things work with my boyfriend and find somewhere else to stay. But where was I going to go? Now summer's coming to an end. And I love my grandpa, don't get me wrong, but we had some rough patches as well. Not only did he not like my new boyfriend, but he's very old school. So during this time I'm dating this guy, I have this hairstyle where there's synthetic hair. It's red. My grandpa flips out. I come home and he gives me a whole speech about how only whores and prostitutes wear red hair, and how I'm misrepresenting myself, and how I look like a whore and a prostitute with the red hair. And if I don't get it removed, we're going to have problems. Like I was in his living room for 3 hours being berated about my hair. And then he made me crab legs. So yeah, staying with my grandpa was out of the option. I can't see my boyfriend and you don't like what I wear. So it's just like, I gotta go. My boyfriend, he had an older sister. She was like 23, 24 at the time, I think. She had an apartment, which wasn't too far from his house and wasn't too far from my grandpa's house either. We used to go over there and hang out sometimes, and he kind of suggested like, I could talk to my sister and she might let you move in. She's a college student as well. She just graduated, I think. She was on her way to graduate, or she had just graduated. So she'll understand your situation. That'll be a great place for you to be, and I can come over and see you anytime. So we move in with his sister for about a month. They start having issues. She accused him of stealing jewelry from her to give me a ring, because he gave me a ring. And she pulled him aside, and to the effect was like, that's mine. I know you stole it. And they went back and forth about that. So I don't know. I know I stayed out of that as best as I could. And then another thing that he was uncomfortable with was that there was like a surplus of guys there like every other night, either for him or his sister. There were like parties every now and then. So he just wasn't comfortable with like leaving me there, to go stay with his mom. And then it was like, I was already staying on his sister's couch, so it was just like cramped. She and him get into a heated argument about this ring. It gets so blown out of proportion that we both end up getting kicked out. Now I'm like, I have nowhere to go but home. So, and then you have nowhere to go but home. But he's still into it with his mom, and now he's into it with his sister. So it's just like, I didn't want to live without him. And I was like, this is a shot in the dark, but I can definitely ask my parents if you can come with me and we'll help them with the bills and be out of their hair. We'll say 6 months. We don't have any kids at this time. We're both young adults. I was 18. He was like 20, so we have nothing to do but work. So why not? And we won't get in the way. So we move in with my parents. My parents give it the okay. I move all of my stuff back home. We go back home. My parents give us the living room, and then, they transform the dining room into another living room so we can have the living room as a room. There was just a lot. It was just really awkward. For one, we were sleeping on the couch together. He was gone a lot, specifically in my car. So they were uncomfortable with that. He didn't keep a job. Like, he would work for like a month or like a week and then quit or leave. And then, I had a job, but I had a problem with spending. So BPD and money do not go well together. Oil and water. We are very poor with money management, and this was very much the case when I moved in with my parents. I have to buy stuff for myself. I have to support my weed, gas for the car, oil changes. And, just I was spending money on my nails, my hair. When his birthday came around, I bought him birthday gifts. Like, it was just, I was poorly managing my money, bottom line. We both were. So my parents aren't saying too much until like the winter time, and they start complaining about the bills. So we agreed to pick up a couple bills, and that just didn't seem to suffice. Like, the house was just like awkward. It was super awkward with us living there. Everybody, like my parents specifically, started to be like weird towards us. We had a lot of arguments in that house. I remember one night he had a panic attack because when he handed me his phone, I had found out that he had a girlfriend in Indiana. Had a whole relationship on Facebook with this girl. He claims he never met her, and he claims he didn't know her, that he was just entertaining her because we were having issues. Like, pissed. Okay? Pissed. And he thought it was going to be the end of us. That was another thing as well. There were a couple times I broke up with him, and then like 3 days later we would get back together. That happened like twice while I stayed in my parents' house. Then comes April. Now, by this point, we've been living there about 8 months. So we're way past our welcome. My grandmother and my mom are starting to have talks with me like, when are you guys going to look for a place? The heat is on. So one day we were at his mom's house. I just started a new job. It pays way less than the job I had working under my mom. So she was my boss at one point. Yeah. They were really, it seemed like they were trying to help, but then in other ways it just seemed like they were trying to get rid of me. I don't know. It could be my black and white thinking. Hey, sometimes it felt like my mom and my stepdad were trying to help, and then sometimes it felt like they were like waiting on us to break up. So I just don't know. Literally in the car talking about our next move, like how I need to get out of my parents' house, how we might have to move in with his mom for a while so we can get a deposit for a place, how we're going to start saving. And I get a text message from my stepdad. Stepdad says my stepsister is missing money, and he's basically accusing either me or my boyfriend of stealing her money that she left on the kitchen counter. Now, mind you, at this time, we are not the only two that are in this house. Okay, my brother's, he moved in with his friend like a block away, but sometimes they would still come to my mom's house, and hang out. So there's so many other people that could be a suspect. Why would you point us out? And I'm not a thief. Okay, I don't steal, especially from my relatives or my blood or people that I consider my friends or family. I just don't steal from people that I care about and that I love. So it was confusing. So I tried to defend him at first, and my stepdad was basically like, no, y'all got to go. This is unacceptable. But where's the proof? And so I talked to my boyfriend about it, and he says he never talked to my stepsister about money, didn't see any money in the kitchen. We literally barely had gas So like I knew he didn't have any money, and we were together all the time, and he didn't spend anything. So where would this money have gone? And then there was another time where they accused him of like they just constantly accused him of stealing, like he was a thief, and they just he like my stepdad fucking brought his friend over to the house while we were asleep one day, and he's like, yeah, meet my friend, blah blah blah. He has camera footage of you stealing in his house. Who does that? Like that is so weird. Why? Why? And then the friend goes, oh, I don't think it was him. It looked like somebody else. What type of mind games are you guys playing right now? You know what I'm saying? So I already knew that this day was coming, but damn, through a text message, my stepdad. So I tried to call my mom. She's not answering. I text her. She's not answering. So now I'm pissed. And I'm talking to my boyfriend about it. He's like, don't even trip. We don't need to be there anyway. I already told you that the energy was off. It was weird, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, yeah, I agree. But I'm emotional at this time. I'm emotional about this. Because goddamn, I feel like my family hates me just because of this guy that I'm dating. Or do they actually hate me no matter who I'm dating? You know what I'm saying? So I went through a really, really dark time with that. Go to move the stuff out, and I try to respectfully tell my mom, like, I think it was fucked up that you had my stepdad text me to put me out of the house. But I respect your decision because this is your house. And I can't tell you that I deserve the right to live here and he deserves the right to live here. That's not my place because I don't pay any bills. This is your house. I get it. But why my stepdad? Why a text message? And she couldn't say anything. Just get out. Just go. She said my attitude was horrible. And I said this to her in a respectful, low tone. I didn't call her any names. I didn't scream. I waited till all my stuff was packed and I said, Mom, I think it's messed up that you had my stepdad text me, but I'm going to leave. But I want you to know that hurt me. And she took it as disrespect. So, I mean, it is what it is. My stepdad tried to block me in the room to keep me from leaving. Wait. I didn't say you had to leave. I said he had to leave. That's not what you said. And the message said, y'all have to get out. Y'all have until Monday. Y'all need to come get y'all stuff. Not he needs to go. None of that. That wasn't the conversation because I would have stayed. Why would I leave if they said he had to leave? Why would I choose to be homeless? Because of him. Like if the conversation was he has to leave but you can stay, I would have stayed. End of story. And I am standing on that story to this day. That's not what he told me in that text message. It was y'all. So y'all left. We left. And on the way out, like in the car, like on our way out of that town, back to town, I was like weeping, crying the whole time. And then I would be laughing and cracking jokes. And I would be weeping and crying again. And my boyfriend was so confused. I'm pretty sure I was splitting. And he did not know how to handle it. We would either get into an argument when I would split, or we would overindulge in like drugs and alcohol to calm me down. So my birthday was like 2 weeks after this. I end up getting blackout drunk and throwing up in a movie theater with my boyfriend. He says I embarrassed him, which I believe I did because I was really, really drunk. And like this is when our relationship started to thin out. The passion was gone. He wasn't as gentle with me anymore. After we moved in with his mom, after like the first week, I would barely see him. Like it would be me and his mom and his siblings. Like I will probably see him like once a week or twice a week. And then he would be gone in my car for days. I would be late for work or miss work. April, May, and June. Or no, we didn't make it to June yet. So April and May were really, really, really rough months for our relationship. And at this point, we had been together for about 7 months at this point. He was spending more and more time at this certain trap house. So I'm starting to feel abandoned. I'm walking to where I need to go now. We're barely seeing each other. I'm like, how are we in a relationship? And I barely see you. Like, this is fucked up. So I ran into my stepdad one day at the library in town. I break down crying. I tell him everything that's going on, and they basically offer for me to move back in. And I remember my stepdad, he said something to the effect of, I told you you would need us before we need you. I didn't try to leave on a bad foot. I was respectful. So, like, for him to say that was just like a kick on me when I'm already down. And my boyfriend has to come out further to see me now. We had an issue about me moving at first. He was pissed about it, but I'm like, how can you be mad when I barely see you? And then there's weird stuff happening at your mom's house. Like, I'm having to scrape for food, and like they barely have enough to feed their family, and then now you're adding me in. So sometimes I go without eating because I feel bad. Like it was just bad. It was just all bad. So one day I'm out visiting him. You know, I'm living with my mom now. He's still living with his mom, but not there. So I'm visiting him at this trap house. There's this girl at the trap house that keeps side-eyeing us. Like, we went to the basement, we did our thing, we came back upstairs, started hanging out with everybody. Everybody was cool with me except for this chick, and she's staring me down. So in the back of my mind, and you know, I always ignore the back of my mind, but it's always right. I'm saying things like, what's this girl's problem? I hope to God he's not fucking her. Why is she seem to have an issue with me? I don't even know her. What's going on? So there was this girl that we were mutually friends with. He introduced me to this girl. She considered him her brother. So like we would hang out sometimes when he was hanging out with his guys. And she saw me and was like, I was all alone. And she's like, you know, come hang out with me. So we're chilling and smoking. Drops the hint that he's been going to this girl's house. He has keys to this girl's house. And they've been spending time together. She tells me not to freak out about it. It's probably nothing, but she just wanted to let me know. So, as I'm visiting him, I stay with his sister, you know, to visit him for the weekend, and then I go back to my parents' house. I'm staying at his sister's house, and he only comes over there to see me one time. And then when I try to come see him, he brushes me off. So we hang out twice during the 3 days that I'm there visiting. Twice. And I knew something was wrong. I get back home and we have a couple phone conversations. Now he's not calling me back. Now the text messages are slow. We're getting into a lot more arguments. One day he got a ride all the way out to my parents' house to see me without telling me. And that turned into an argument because I was upset about him not returning my phone calls and my text messages and things like that. So one day he calls me and he's just completely disrespectful, calling me out of my name, trying to like crack jokes on me in front of all his friends. So I break up with him on the phone. And I'm like, for real this time. And I'm like, no, this is it. I can't take this anymore. I know you're cheating on me. Now you're treating me like shit. We don't even live in the same town anymore. Just do you. It's over. He's calling the house over and over and over again. My parents are loving this. They're sick. They're laughing. Like, I'm in tears, brokenhearted. Ask my mom, like, what do I do? Did I make the right choice? And they're laughing. They're laughing at me. They're laughing at him. They're picking up the phone, hanging up on him, picking up the phone, hanging up on him, telling him I'm not there. I'm trying to grab the phone. They're like, no, no, no. I didn't know what to do. I thought we were done. I thought it was over. Enter my baby daddy. I meet him on Twitter that July, and I got pregnant July of 2015. Go move out with my baby daddy, try to make that work. That didn't work. I come back home. I'm hanging out with him again, my ex. And I let him know, like, you know, I just want you to hear from me first that I'm pregnant. And it's, you know, by this guy that I met on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, yeah, Jamie already told me. Then, you know, I'm coming on to him, like, trying to restart our relationship. And I'm like, I know I'm pregnant. I don't blame you if you say no. but I would love if we could start over. So he kind of like, we never started over, but he entertained the thought, right? So we were still hanging out, we were still being romantic until he pulls me aside one day. I got to tell you something. I have a baby on the way too. And guess with who? None other than that girl that was staring at me crazy at the trap house. That's his baby mama now. I don't know if he did it on purpose. A lot of people say he did it on purpose because we ended up pregnant around the same time. But I don't know. I can't speak on that. I'm not in a place to say that it was a revenge thing. But so now we both have babies the same age. We never ended up seriously dating again. Like we never went official again after that. We had a lot of on moments, a lot of moments where it was like, I fuck with you, you fuck with me, but we're not together type of thing. And that went on for years. I mean, it didn't really stop until my daughter was like 4. He bounced in between like me and the mother of his children for a couple of years. So it just we never found our footing again. And then I was also still in communication with people that he felt like I shouldn't be in communication with. Examples, the guy that took my virginity, the soldier guy. Both made an entrance back into my life. And I was also communicating with them. So he kind of felt slighted, which is understandable. Because let me be honest with you guys. I don't know why I'm in communication with them. I'm going to have to do more research on this. Hopefully I can find a therapist that will allow me to open up about this and get to the root of it. But I have no idea why I'm still in contact with these guys, you know what I'm saying, after what they've done to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I easily forgave them. Like, forgiving them is one thing, but like fully accepting them back into my life was like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the end of me and that ex that had a hard time getting over. I'm in a better place with it now. Like, I'm not as obsessed with him, and I finally accepted that we won't be together again, unless like the future or fate changes something. I don't see us being together again. Because it's just been so much that's happened between us that it just seems irreparable. Like, for instance, the guy that took my virginity, before my ex found out that he was the guy that took my virginity, the guy that took my virginity played his part, like, too much, like, over the top, to the point where he got matching tattoos with my ex. This is a real story. They have matching tattoos to this day. And I always thought that was weird, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, you took my virginity. We shouldn't even be this close. And the fact that you're trying so hard to be friends with my boyfriend is like weird. And I never forgave him for that, because that ended up later on like affecting the trust that we had with each other and the romance that me and my ex shared. That really affected that. And with my ex being my new favorite person, led to like some resentment for me to the guy that took my virginity. And not only that, I have a suspicion, well, I know for a fact the guy that took my virginity also fucked my sister. I know that's a fact. And then my ex was hanging around my sister. So I have a suspicion that they've also done things together. So it's just like so much garbage that's on top of these connections that even though they were my favorite person at one point, I just know there's no going back, because I can't forgive these things. Or I forgave these things, but I can't get over them, if you will. So my sister that they have relations with, she's younger than me. So that makes me look at them like, what the fuck? Like, were you plotting on her the entire time you were dating me? And because she was too young, you guys didn't make a move? It calls into question like so many things. But not only that, I look at myself a lot and I question why I can't let go of these connections because they serve me no purpose. And why it's just like so easy for me to look past the fact that, for instance, the guy that took my virginity, we still communicate to this day. Like, he still calls and we just talk, and it's just weird. It's a weird spot we're in because he wants to express this like love for me and this care, but it's hard for me to accept it because it's like you tried so hard to hurt me in the past and you succeeded. So why am I letting you have this access to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why. And I was hoping that therapy would help me figure that out, but we haven't even discussed it. Like, the last session I had with my therapist was about 3 weeks ago, and she called me an alcoholic. I mean, that's... for now, that's the end of the relationship line. I'm going to do a bonus episode about the 2 friends that I missed. And then episode 12, I'm going to try to vlog more about my day-to-day now that I'm searching for a therapist again. But thanks, guys, for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.